Welcome to the Futures Lab. So we have everything that we need for our quiz. We've got our questions working, we've got our answers working. All we need now is a satisfying way to end the quiz when we've answered all of the questions. So what we're going to do is we're going to do that today. We're going to go to the Gameshow host Sprite. And we're going to look for this piece of code which says, when I receive load new question. This is the piece of code that runs each time you've answered a question. And remember, each time you've answered a question, it deletes all of the information from it, its possible answers and everything. So eventually, we're going to run out of questions to ask. And we don't have anything that happens once we've run out of questions. If you look at this if statement, if length of answer 1, which is one of our lists that contains all of our possible answer ones, all of our option ones when we're answering these multiple choice questions, eventually we're going to hit 0. So first of all, we've got our if length of answer 1 is more than 0, meaning there's 1 or more. We'll just ask the new question. Now we're going to put something in the else. So we're going to put this into a my block so that we know what it does. So we're going to go across to the red category on the left, and we're going to click on make a block. We're going to call this end of game show. Okay, perfect. So we're going to move this define end of game show down by itself somewhere, and we're going to put our end of game show from the left side here underneath the else. We could just put this straight into the code, but I think it's important that you see that everything that we're doing here is going to be the code that does the end of the game. So let's put some code underneath define end of game show. Let's go to looks and let's drag out switch costume to talking to. Looks, the purple category, switch costume to talking to, and then we're going to go to control and get out an if then else. So we're going to have two possible conclusions. One is you got more questions right than you got wrong, and the other is you got more questions wrong than you got right. And one of those, and we're going to have two different answers that the game show host is going to say. So we're going to go to operators, because we need to ask this question. Have you gotten more questions right than wrong? And in the case of a tiebreaker, as in if you got 50-50, it will count it as like a negative result. So we're going to go to get a more than operator. That's 6 from the top in our operators section. So think about how we're going to calculate this. How are we going to make this question work? Well, let's go to variables and let's pull out answered correctly. So if the number of questions that we answered correctly is more than half of the questions answered. So how do we do that? Well, we go back to operators, the green category, and we pull out this fourth one here, which is a divide by operator. Then we're going to go back to variables, the orange category. We're going to pull out a questions answered, put it in the first part of that divide by operator, and then we're going to divide it by 2. So now we're going to know answered correctly more than questions answered divide by 2. Perfect. So now we're going to go to our purple category looks. We're going to pull out say hello for 2 seconds, but we're going to change this to say congratulations. Congratulations. We're going to say, we're going to put an exclamation mark on that. I'm going to say for 1 second. And then we're going to tell the player how many of the questions they got right. So for this, we're going to use a lot of something in operators called join. So pull out another say hello for 2 seconds, put that underneath, make this 3 seconds, and then go to operators, the green category. Now look for where it says join apple banana. This is going to allow us to take things like variables and words that we write and put them together into a sentence. It works like this. Pull out join apple banana and put it over that hello in our say hello. Now pull out another join apple banana and put it over the apple. And do it again. And one last time. We want 4 joins in a row. Now these 5 things here are all going to be strung together in the same sentence that our game show host is going to say. So what we're going to do now is we're going to click on that first section there, and we're going to say you got, and then we're going to put a space in. Now we're going to go to variables, the purple and the dark orange category, and we're going to pull out answered correctly and put it over the second little socket there. So you got space answered correctly. Now click on that the next one along after answered correctly and go space out of space. So, and then we're going to, after our out of, we're going to put in questions answered. And then the last little socket where I've got banana here written, and we're going to go space correct question exclamation mark. All right, let's zoom out on that so we can see it all in its entirety. So this line here is going to say you got 1 out of 2 questions answered, 2 correct. So that's going to be a way that we can have this sentence, have these variables in the middle of the sentence using our join operator. Now we're going to do something pretty similar for the option if we didn't get that many questions correct. So where it says say congratulations, click on the right click on that say. Hover over it with your mouse and right click, and you'll also have duplicate. So click on that and you'll get this whole thing and put that under the else. This is going to save us a lot of time by duplicating it this way. And then what we're going to do is we're going to click on the congratulations and say, oh dear, exclamation mark. And then we're going to just make a few little changes. I'm going to change you got to you only got. And then I'm going to remove this question mark at the end of correct. So now it's going to say you only got 1 out of 10 correct. So that way, if you get more answers correct than you didn't, you get like a, okay, well you did well. And if you get less, then you kind of get the game show host going, oh no, you didn't do that well. And so what I'm going to do, even to make it so it's not quite so mean, I'm going to go back to the dark purple category, get out looks, and get out a say hello for 2 seconds, put that after our little negative message. I'm going to say better luck next time, exclamation mark, for 2 seconds. Just so we're encouraging to our player. So you can make your quiz a bit more stringent if you want. You can change this divided by, if you know how to do those maths a little bit. But what about if they get every answer correct? We should put something special for the people who got every answer correct. So let's go to control and pull out an if then. Put that on the very bottom of our code here. Let's go to operators. How do we going to do a simple question, a simple if then statement that asks if we got that figures out if we got all the questions right? Well, we need an equals operator. That's I think 8 from the top. It's got a neat little equals sign. I'm going to zoom in on this so you guys can see it a bit better. Then we're going to go to variables, the dark orange category. We're going to pull out answered correctly, and then we're going to pull out questions answered. If answered correctly equals question answered. If those are the same number, that means you got every question right. Simple. Then what we're going to do is we're going to go to looks. We're going to pull out a switch costume to correct, because remember that's when our game show host is kind of like, really happy. And now we're going to make a broadcast. What's the broadcast for? Well, you'll find out in a second. Let's go to events. Let's pull out broadcast. Put that underneath switch costume to correct. Click on that white triangle. And click on new message. And this is a bit of a spoiler. We are calling this broadcast balloons! Exclamation mark. Now we're going to go to looks and we're going to pull out a say hello for 2 seconds, and we're going to change that hello to well done! Exclamation mark. Now this time pull out the say hello, the one that doesn't have anything for 2 seconds after it. This means it will stay up for as long as you leave the game running. Pick up say hello, and we're going to click on hello and type in you win the quiz! Exclamation mark. There we go. So let's start up the music again, and then let's do the balloons, and you'll see what it looks like at the end. So scroll down a little bit. Now you can do this slightly differently if you want, but this is the way that I'm going to do it, because I want the balloons to start as the game show host says, well done, you win the quiz. So pull out when I receive balloons! Exclamation mark. Put that by itself somewhere. And we're going to go to sound. We're going to pull out set volume to 100%, because remember we set the volume all the way down to 0% once the when the game starts, it plays that music, and then the music slowly fades down. So we're going to set the volume to 100%. Then we're going to go to control. We're going to pull out a forever, put that underneath. And then we're going to go to sound, and we're going to get play sound ode song until done. Pull that out and put it inside the forever. So this is going to play the music over and over and over and over again. As always, you can have a different sound if you want. But this is kind of like a very sort of game show sounding music to me. So now we're going to make a new sprite. This is the last thing that we're going to do. So bottom right corner, click on where it says choose a sprite, this little cat face here. And we're going to get a balloon. Click on that. I'm just going to rename this from balloon 1 just to balloon, just because the 1 annoys me. Now we're going to put a bit of code in here. So what we're going to have happen is a bunch of balloons are going to come across the screen, all over the screen, just like a big celebration. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to events. We're going to pull out when green flag clicked. Now we're going to have these balloons going in all sorts of different directions. Which means that I'm going to go to motion, the dark blue category, and pull out set rotation style left right. This means we'll be able to point the balloons at various angles, but the balloons themselves won't rotate with their strings hanging out at weird angles. You'll see what I mean when we actually do this. Now we're going to make a bunch of clones of this balloon. So we need to hide the original to make the clones section of the code work more easily. So go to looks, the purple category, and pull out hide and put that underneath set rotation style left right. Now we're going to go to events, and we're going to pull out when I receive balloons. I'm going to put some code underneath this. So we're going to go to looks. We're going to pull out go to front layer. We want to make sure all these balloons are in front of the game show and the desk and the 2 contestants, the 2 answer sprites. We want to go to motion, the dark blue category. we're going to pull out set Y to -200. We want them to appear on the bottom of the screen and rise up. And we're going to go to control, and we're going to grab out a forever loop. And then inside that forever loop, we're going to go to looks. We're going to grab out switch costume, because there are 3 different colors of balloon that we can have, and you can even put in more if you want. But I'm going to keep the same 3, so I want it to be one of these 3 costumes at random. So how do we do that? Well, let's go to operators. Let's pull out pick random 1 to 3 to switch our costume to. Now we want all these balloons to appear at different points on the bottom of the screen as they start to rise up. So we're going to go to motion, the dark blue category. We're going to get out set X. Remember, Y controls how far up and how far down on the screen something is. X controls how far left and right it is. And the number controls where they are on that axis. So we're going to go to the green category and pull out pick random. Now the lowest number we're going to set, I quite like, I'm just going to say -240. That's the very left of the screen. And then the second number is I'm going to set as 240. That's the very right of the screen. You can see what sort of coordinates you have by moving something around, like one of the sprites, like this balloon sprite, and having a look at these numbers that change, this X and this Y, just underneath your game screen. And then you can get a feel for what these numbers actually refer to, where these numbers will take your sprite. Okay, so we're going to go to, I'm also going to make these balloons slightly different sizes. So let's go to looks, let's get out set size to 100%. Let's go to operators, pick random. Let's set the size to 50% to 75%. You can have a play with this if you like, change these numbers, see what happens. And then we're going to go to control. We're going to pull out create clone of myself, and then wait 1 second and put that right underneath. And then we're going to go change that 1 to 0.02 because we want lots and lots and lots of balloons. Again, you can change this number if you like, but I like 0.02. Okay, so we've got our balloons being created on the bottom of the screen, but our balloons don't have any code to make them go up yet. That's the last thing that we're going to do. Look down and make some space, because we need to get out when I start as clone. This is the instruction we're going to give to each individual cloned balloon. So we're going to get our, go to looks, the purple category. Now remember, we hid this original balloon so that this original balloon isn't just hanging out here on the screen being distracting, which means that each time it makes a clone of itself, we need to show that clone. So pull out show and put that underneath. Now go to motion, the dark blue category, and grab point in direction 90. Okay, make this nice and big for you guys to see. Now we're going to randomize this a little bit. Go to operators, get pick random. Now with the angles here, if you move this arrow around, if you click on this number 90, you can see the different numbers for the different angles. Now we always want our balloons to be pointing up, but sometimes they'll be pointing like diagonally up, right? So let's say that the lowest number we want is -45, which is like up there, all the way through to 45 up there. So let's put in pick random -45 to 45. This is going to be our random range. Okay, so now we're going to go to control. We're going to grab a repeat until. Now we need to delete these clones, because if we keep making them and they never go away, eventually Scratch will stop making clones, because otherwise it would crash if it just kept making more and more copies of something. So we want to delete them once they get too high on the screen. Once they get to the top of the screen, we're going to delete this clone. So to measure that, we're going to go to operators. We're going to get out a more than operator. That's this arrow pointing towards the right, pointing towards the 50. And then we're going to go to the dark blue category and look for Y position. Pull out that Y position and put it in that first little socket of our more than operator. Now click on that 50. We're going to say 170. 180 is technically the top of the screen, but I've noticed that sometimes some of the balloons, if they're really big, they can't quite, they'll sort of stop before they get there. So we'll just say more than 170 for now. You can change this number a little bit, see if it works better for you. And I'm going to make these balloons move pretty fast. So I'm going to get out a move 10 steps. That's how fast they're going to move. Okay, and then once they've hit the top, this repeat until Y position is more than 170, which is basically the top of the screen, we need to delete the clone. So go to Control and pull out delete this clone. All right, well, let's test if this works. Now I'm just going to pull out this broadcast. I'm going to change the broadcast to balloons, and I'm going to double click on this broadcast balloons. Well, that's interesting. Now can you see they're all pointing in these weird ways? And that's because our when green flag clicked code hasn't run yet. Set rotation style to left right. Let's start the game and let's test it again. Broadcast balloons. There we go. Alright, so let's see if it all works together, shall we? So we start our game, it's playing some music, and the music fades out eventually. Now we've only got 3 questions in here, and they're all really easy questions. So let's answer them correctly. Let's go with... Actually, let's answer them all incorrectly. Uh-oh, got that wrong. Let's answer this one incorrectly. Okay, and let's answer this one incorrectly. Oh dear, you only got 0 out of 3 correct. Better luck next time. Okay, nothing else happens. Let's start it again. And this time we're going to answer all the questions correctly, and we'll see what happens. We'll see if we get our balloons ending. Alright, so we can answer this correctly. Let's make this nice and big so you guys can see it. Let's answer this correctly. Alright, and finally let's answer this one correctly. Congratulations, you got 3 out of 3 correct. Well done. You win the quiz. And we have our balloons. So, there we go, guys. That's everything that you need to make your own quiz game. Now, if you, as many people have pointed out, this quiz is too easy. There are only 3 questions, and all the questions are very easy, especially if you like Undertale, Minecraft, and Spider-Man. So, if you have some good ideas for questions, I've had someone suggest a question: is mayonnaise an instrument? Which I do like, but the problem is he didn't tell me if mayonnaise could be an instrument. So he didn't tell me what the real answer was. So leave a comment below so that. And I'll keep an eye on the comments, and I'll keep adding to the questions in this quiz. That way I can put if I like your question, give 2 different possible answers and say which is the correct answer. I'll put them into this project so that people playing the game on the Scratch website can see a larger selection of questions than the one I've made. That'll be really cool. We'll all contribute together. So I hope you've enjoyed this series. I've got something really cool for you for the next series. It's really interesting. I won't spoil what it is just yet. But as always, you can subscribe to the YouTube channel to get the next episode and see what the next project is. But until then, stay awesome, be cool to each other, and take care of yourselves. We'll see you next time, ninjas.